Welcome to Authentic Conversations with Ryan James Miller. Join Ryan as he speaks with top business leaders and influencers, and hear how they've mastered the art of authenticity to achieve all that they dreamed of. As you hear from these leaders, seek not only to be inspired by their authenticity, but to strive for and master your own.
If you're here because you believe you are one deal away from finally achieving freedom in your life, or maybe you are so afraid to lose what you have in front of you, or worse yet, you're super successful at work and you absolutely have no home life whatsoever. Look, I cannot tell you how many times I have struggled, how many times I've been in a place of darkness, of emptiness, and of loneliness, and I have had no place to turn whatsoever. That's exactly why I decided to contribute what I'm about to contribute today. Look, it's not like I haven't had other men in my life. It's not like I haven't had other people to talk to share time with, to hang out on the couch, to watch the game, to go play golf, to do so many other things. I've got guys in business that I run around with. They've all been there. The problem is, and you know this very well, as a man, we struggle to share our emotion. We shove them deep down a hole. And we usually ignore talking about our deepest struggles. There's just something about that environment that we run from. Why can't we just say that our marriage is struggling? That we don't know what to do with our wife in that moment? Why can't we talk about the fact that we're in a black hole financially and we don't know how we're going to claw ourselves out? Why can't we talk about the fact that our business is struggling? You're willing to brag about what's good. You struggle to talk about what's difficult. I don't know about you, but for me, I was afraid. I was afraid to share with other people, especially with other men, that I was less than what I wanted them to think of me to be. And so because of a combination of all that, of really being torn down to the ground, of losing everything that I had, and slowly working to build that back up, I decided that this idea of getting real and getting raw was exactly what we needed to talk about today. So, 3 things that I want to address, and then I'm going to provide some solutions to them for you. So I hope you're ready. Grab a pen, grab paper, and get ready to take notes, because this is going to be for you. And by the way, I'm going to continue to remind you over and over again, if you're listening to this stuff and you're feeling overwhelmed about it, I'm going to give you an opportunity later on to jump into a challenge that we're going to be launching real soon that's going to help you walk this path with other men that share their vision, share values, and are willing to help you and live and walk out the life that you've been created to live. So 3 things. Number 1, when we think about this idea of really struggling to share our emotions, when we think about this idea of opening up about the things that we struggle with, problem number one, as it relates to men, is you're confusing. It's so funny. Like, we talk about women being so confusing all the time. They don't know where they want to go eat. They don't know what to wear when they go out. There's so many confusing things, and those things are the truth. The problem is we're confusing too. Look, we convert one feeling into another. Most often, and this is where I'm going to begin to get real. Don't lose me here. One of the biggest struggles that we have, one of the biggest problems that we have, is when there is a feeling that we get, some kind of emotion that is typically associated with being feminine, like sadness or vulnerability, crying. We automatically convert those things because we don't want to be seen as weak. We definitely don't want to be seen as a woman. And so therefore, we convert those feelings and we turn them into things like anger and pride. And I know you can feel me. I know that sometime you got really upset, you were really sad about something, and your response was just to get angry and lash out at somebody else. Because those feelings tend to be more socially acceptable in man-dominated circles. We can get tough, we can get angry, we can flex, we can show our strength. But God forbid that we show a true emotion like sadness and cry about something, or fear. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2 is that you as a man, you don't feel comfortable. Again, this is all wrapped up in this idea of emotions. But if we're talking about getting real and getting raw, why you're here right now, about finally getting to the root cause of the problem so you can eventually live the life that you were created to live, to be successful, to be happy in marriage, to have a great business, these things are for you. Emotion, again, is something that we don't typically talk about. We're definitely not normally comfortable about this type of thing, about emotion. And so again, I talked about converting feelings. This is more of the idea of shifting feelings. We will only talk about things that are vulnerable to us around people that we're extremely comfortable with. And even then, we fear that. We'll only open up in areas of emotion when we feel like we're in an environment that it's socially acceptable. Maybe in a very tight mastermind, maybe in a Bible study at church. Very rarely will we do that. We don't feel comfortable talking about the realness and the rawness of what it means to live life as a man. And so instead, we just escape those places because we don't feel comfortable talking about them. That's two. Number three, you're afraid of judgment. I mean, I get this. From the time that my parents divorced at 6 years old, I remember what it was like to always try to, needing to prove myself to my dad. And every single time that it would open up about something, even to my dad, I was afraid that he was going to judge me as not being enough. When I got married, I was afraid to talk about the things that I wasn't good at for fear of being judged as not being a man enough husband in the business community. I'm absolutely afraid of being judged. I know you can feel me there. Look, society in general, especially nowadays, it talks about being you, about expressing your feelings, about opening up. But then when we do, when we open up about the things that we're struggling with, about our deepest, darkest moments, our friends, sometimes our own partners, they just come down on us. They look down on us. We're judged for just opening up about who we are. Three huge problems. And again, over and over again, I've felt these things. And yet the only solution that I can find is to get real and get raw with other men that are willing to walk that journey with you, that are willing to walk along the path, to go to war, to fight, not just with fists, but with the realness of who we are, to stand by our side, to encourage us, to share their struggles. That's why I've created this challenge. That's why I've created this community. It's for guys like you and me that need something more than what the world is giving us right now. There's enough tough guy, macho men mentality out there, and you can be as tough as you want to be. But until you deal with this stuff, you're going to continue worrying about the next business deal. You're going to continue worrying about failing and being overwhelmed all the time at work. You're going to have an empty home, even though you have a home full of people in it. So here's a couple of solutions. You're not here just to hear me share pondering thoughts. Number one, if you want to get real and raw, if you want to get real, if you want to get raw, if you really want to get to the root cause of the problems you have, open up and walk through to eventually living the life of freedom that I believe you were created for. Number one, you must say what you mean and mean what you say. Look at. We all have a BS meter. From a very young age, we were equipped to some degree or another to know when somebody was telling the truth or not. Like all of the times that your parents threatened you, or maybe you're a parent right now and you threaten your kid one more time and that's going to be it. One more time and one more time and one more time. Are you really ever going to come through on what you say? Or how about for you guys that are running a business? Or you're responsible for clients? They tell you how valuable you are, how much they appreciate you, how much they're thankful for all the work that you've done, all the things that you've poured into their business, only to receive an email or a phone call telling you that they've left you for the next best deal. BS. We start to buy the fact that what people are claiming is in fact not the truth. Look at our instincts as men are for self-protection. They're for survival. And it's been that way for thousands of years. We've learned to have to stand up for and protect ourselves. And it's gonna kick in, particularly when we feel as though things are not as they seem. But we've got to fight to overcome that. We've got to fight to speak the truth, and we've got to stand behind what we say. Our actions must mirror our words, and our words must mirror our actions. Getting real and getting raw is about speaking the truth, both in where we're challenged and where we believe we need to go. The problem is too often we've been burned in relationships. Too often we've been made fun of. And I'm going to talk more about this a few more times. But we've opened up before and believing that the environment that we've shared in is completely confident, only to be burned, only to have somebody share that with somebody else, and we feel like an absolute fool. But if we're going to be men, real men, we must fight against that fear. We must lean into relationships, friendships with other men, in which we are looking to build trust, to increase trust. And that starts with us. It starts with us speaking the truth. It starts with us standing up for truth. It starts with us living out that truth. Getting real and getting raw is about being real. Are you willing to do that? Do not speak a lie. People won't trust you. And on top of that, when you speak the truth in the environments that you are in, that will begin to rub off. That will begin to demonstrate your leadership quality that you want as a man, and you'll bring other people along with you. So number one, when it comes to getting real and getting raw, when it comes to ultimately moving forward into the life that we want, it requires you to say what you mean and mean what you say. Number two, if you want to get real and you want to get raw, you must be vulnerable. Again, I talked about this as a fear earlier. Even that word, even that idea is something that is so feared by so many men. Vulnerable. Like I have to open up. I have to share with other people who I am and what I'm all about. Are you crazy? But vulnerability is the key to creating environments where we can show up for our best. For any of you guys that have ever served in the military, I have not ever had the privilege to do that. Thank you for your service. But you know is better than anybody else what it really means to get deep, to get dark, to get down in the trenches, and to lay yourself out there with other people, to open up about where you're really challenged, to push each other to be the best that you can possibly be. When you know that you have somebody else in the trench with you, you're willing to go to war. You're willing to put your life on the line. But that takes a process, right? Vulnerability and more of it is a process. It takes a period of time. Build that bond over time. We build trust through vulnerability. And so if we want to be in relationships, friendships with other men that are going to push us to be the best, we must become vulnerable to build trust. This is going to come over time, absolutely. But it's going to come by way of you leading, of you going first, of you opening up, of you giving people the opportunity to be trusted and to trust you. Again, that goes back to what I talked about previously. Being honest, speaking the truth, living up to that. Vulnerability is the same way. Slowly but surely, as we become more vulnerable, we will see more trust build in the relationships that we need to strengthen us to become the best real men that we can be. You've got to open yourself up. You've probably been burned before. I cannot tell you the number of times that I've put myself out there and been burned. I can't tell you the number of times I've opened up about some struggle only to be made fun of. At 40 years old, made fun of by other men for opening up about the truth of a struggle that I've had. That's garbage. And yet it's the case. And I get it. I'm there with you. You've got to fight through that. You got to open up and share about things that you struggle with. Embarrassments from the past, things that still bear weight and shame on you. As you do that, you will begin to see the light. You will begin to see people rise to the top, that you can trust more, that you can build a stronger relationship with. Look, ultimately, the greatest amount of trust is going to be built when we're in a relationship, when we have a friendship in which there's an opportunity for them to let us down or us to let them down. Because when they don't, when they're there for us, when your buddy goes to war with you, you know then that you can begin to trust them more than you ever have before. And again, this is why it's so important to do this with a community of men that are like-minded, that share similar beliefs, that want the same things you do, similar things to what you do. Gone are the days of you fighting to want a healthy marriage in which you respect your wife and hanging around a bunch of guys that are talking crap on their wives all the time. That's not the way to do that. Be in a community of men that seek to be real men, to respect, to lead, to guide, to grow, to develop themselves, and to do the best they can for everybody else around them. That's why the Restoring Your Manhood Challenge was created. That's why this community has been created, for those very reasons. Number 3, remember the role of respect. You want to get real, you want to get raw, you need to have respect. You need to give it, and you need to have it. I understand. One of the ways that we can be torn down the most is by being belittled. It's by being made feel less than. When people condescend. When people speak out of contempt rather than respect. We see that. But we've got to fight against that. We've got to fight against those scars that we have in the past, and we've got to move forward. We can't live in this environment anymore. It's costing us and everybody that we love so much. Basic respect is the common denominator in a great relationship. Your financial advisor, you want to have the most respect, the most trust for them because they're holding on to your money. Your spouse, same thing. Your best friends, the same thing. The more personal relationship, the more respect is required. The more mutual respect is necessary to share those real and raw moments. Look, unfortunately, when we're in a close relationships, when we're in a mastermind with a group of guys or we're in business with somebody else, chances are that we've been burned or we've burned somebody else. We've showed the worst of ourselves. We've seen the worst of somebody else. And I get that. That can be extremely difficult to respect that person anymore, to have earned respect from the person if we've showed them our worst. But let me share with you, that's actually a great way to demonstrate vulnerability, which is what we want when we want to get to the floor, so we can start building the life that we've been created to live as real men. We do that by way of vulnerability. So if we've been broken down, if we've broken somebody else down, disrespected them, get vulnerable, get real, get raw, open up about how you've been hurt, how you've hurt somebody else. Apologize. Build that relationship. The greatest relationships that I have in my life, but specifically with other men, are the result of walking through challenges like that. You know, there was a period of my life when I didn't speak to my father for 10 years. 10 years as a result of a falling out at 21 years old. And until 31 years old, I didn't speak to my father. Hurt, heartache, everything from the time he left at 6 all the way up until the time I stopped speaking to him at 21. All of that built on top of everything else. I was hurt, I was angry, I was frustrated, and I had lashed out at him many times. But meeting up with him at 31, sitting down and talking to him in a public restaurant, and just being vulnerable about what that time was like, how empty that was without that father figure, that leader in my life. Him sharing and being vulnerable about how much he missed me and how bad it hurt, allowed us to walk through that process for forgiveness, for growth. And since then, I've grown the greatest relationship with my father I've ever had. And he's helped shape me to be the man I am today. And I am proud to say that. We must walk through the valley of the shadow of death if we are ever to get to the green garden on the other side. Number 5, and this is my last one for you guys. Take risks together. Look at being vulnerable, being real, getting raw. It doesn't just involve opening up emotionally with each other, though that's extremely important. This one is a lot more practical. So if you want to step into a healthy relationship in which you can work with another man or with other men to grow and to become the man that you were created to be, try something like jumping into a difficult adventure together, gnarly hike, river rafting, a joint fitness challenge. Maybe expanding your minds together by reading a challenging book, watching a video that really challenges who you are and the thoughts that you have, a course, or joining a challenge like this. There are so many ways that together, as you risk your character, your nature, your macho man mentality, the image that you've created around yourself, you're putting that all at risk when you lay yourself out on the line and step into something challenging. But that's where you'll grow, is together. It's going to put you both outside of your comfort zone, or all of you outside of your comfort zone. But that's what it's going to take. You're going to build trust through those types of environments, through those types of challenges. And ultimately, you're going to come out the other side like two soldiers that were sitting in the trench, and ultimately you're claiming victory over whatever it is they were looking to defeat. And you know what? Just because I got a couple of minutes left, I want to throw one final one in, and this is a bonus because this one resonates with my heart. For the longest time, I was terrible about taking. And you may think to yourself, what are you talking about? Like, we're talking about getting real and getting raw, like opening up and pouring in. And man, there are so many times in my life that I have given so much to other people. As a coach, I give so much to my clients, so much to my community. And I've realized that I didn't do a good enough job of taking, of receiving, of being poured into. In 2013, I had to short sell my house. And leading up to that period of time, one of the most humbling and humiliating seasons of my life, though one of the most growing periods of my life. as we weren't making it, as we were struggling, as we were watching things being repossessed and ultimately our house being put up for sale. I couldn't fix the problem with more money. I couldn't make more money fast enough. And I finally had to start accepting handouts. People that were generous enough in my life to contribute to my life financially, helping us to get over that hurdle, to get over that hump. That's what it means to be in a real and raw relationship. That's how we grow, is by being poured into. Not just so we can pour back out, but so we can be healthy. If we're not healthy, we aren't going to do a damn thing for anybody else around us. Look, every relationship, every friendship, every environment is going to ebb and flow. Sometimes you're going to pour way more in, and other times people are going to pour way more into you. But that's great because that's all about building trust. You never have to question whether or not somebody else is pouring into you enough because they're throwing all of themselves at you and you're throwing all yourself at them. I'm trying to do everything I can to do that for you right now. I want you to see that it's worth it to receive, to be poured into. You cannot deny the fact that you need to receive, you need to take, you need to be poured into so you can be filled up and you can go live the life that you were created to live as a real man. It's a lot to consider. There's a lot to digest as we think about what it means to get real and get raw, ultimately to restore our manhood and then live a life of freedom. That's the life that we are created to live. So if you've heard this today, if you've sat through this and you're like, Ryan, I get this and I feel this. I just don't know where to take it. I don't know where to go. The Restoring Your Manhood Challenge is for you. You've heard this. You've got this. You've resonated with this. You want to take the next step. And I'm inviting you to take the next step. Kicking off real soon is going to be a 5-day challenge. I'm going to jump in and I'm going to give you video training each and every day over 5 principles of what I believe it means to be a man: leadership, integrity, sacrifice and service, physical and mental health, and ultimately excellence in all that we do. 5 days of that training, but inside a private community. Men pouring into you, you pouring into other men, getting real, getting raw, opening up, asking questions, being helped and helping other people. And ultimately, I will be there to support you every step of the way. There are plenty of bonuses along the way, so make sure that you check out the link, that you click through, and you commit to living the life that you were created to live, a life of freedom as a man.
Thank you for listening to Authentic Conversations with Ryan James Miller. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and share it with others. To connect with Ryan and learn more, visit ryanjamesmiller.com.